Hi, I'm Dr. Matt B. with your Emotional Minutes. And today we're talking about a concept that people often talk about called catharsis. And basically, that's just a fancy word to mean that you can sort of let out your energy or let out things that have been bothering you for a while and are sort of pent up. And this idea of kind of having things that are bothering you maybe for a while that you don't address, and then, it sort of leads you to have this kind of pent up psychic energy actually initially came from Freud, where they proposed that this can kind of build up, especially with stress and traumatic events that people experience. But actually, one of the things that research has found is that catharsis actually doesn't necessarily work in the way it's thought to function to work. And they've actually found that it tends to be sort of other things that might account for the relief that people tend to report experiencing. So a lot of times people will say, I just need to sort of let it out, like, or a child needs to let it out, like a child is angry and they need to let it out by hitting a pillow. And what they've actually found is that doesn't release the anger or the frustration, and it actually just kind of leads to sort of reinforcing aggressive behaviors, because then the child is always being taught, yeah, go hit something whenever you're feeling, frustrated or angry. So the child is never really actually releasing anything, while all the while being taught to sort of engage in kind of an antisocial behavior to deal with the emotions that they experience. This also comes up with crying as well. People often say, well, I need to cry a lot to sort of let something out. And sometimes crying people can experience some relief after crying, which kind of feels nice. But then oftentimes they might continue to turn to crying as a way to sort of deal with the things that they're experiencing. But as they continue to turn to crying, it kind of functions to lead them to sort of always be focused on sort of the negative and difficult things in their life, without really, kind of finding a way that they can find strategies or tools to kind of approach the things that are making them cry. So being sad about something is completely understandable. It's just sort of how people kind of start to learn to sort of, cope with those things that can be difficult or sad that they experience. Another example is people often have the experience where talking about something difficult really makes them feel a lot better. And that can be a helpful thing as well, but oftentimes it's not necessarily the act of sort of, I talked about it and I just got it out, so it was good to get it out. Because if you think about, you might go out to the woods and talk to a tree, but talking to a tree might not make you feel better. It's actually typically tends to be the social support that you might experience from telling another individual about some of the things you're experiencing. And having that social support can give you some nice relief. Sometimes what can seem helpful with that too is that, the individual might have a belief that telling other people might lead to some negative consequence, like, people will think they're a bad person for having experienced what they experience, or believing what they did, or experiencing the emotions that they're having, where oftentimes, talking to someone else about it can often sort of provide counter evidence to that thought or belief and get some relief there, because you find the ability to discuss it with someone openly and not really have as much of a negative consequence as you might have thought. And so oftentimes people believe strongly that in sort of letting things out, they're kind of getting rid of this energy that's deep down, when oftentimes it tends to be other things that really provide that relief. And hopefully that was helpful today. And if you have any questions or comments, you can put them below in the comment box. And go ahead and subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to get updates about future episodes. Again, I'm Dr. Matt B., and these are your Emotional Minutes, and we will see you next time.